The head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Mike Tomlin, is widely seen as one of the best coaches in the NFL. Everyone loves him, and he's such a cool guy. How could you hate him? However, in this video, I'm going to show you why maybe it's time for the Steelers to part ways and show why his history as a Steelers head coach, even though he's never had a losing season, hasn't actually been that great. Tomlin started off his career with the Steelers with an incredibly hot start, winning the Super Bowl in his second year as head coach and making it to the Super Bowl in his fourth year and losing to the Packers. Those first 4 years, brilliant. You know, he's on fire. He's on top of the world. However, since then, since his fourth year, 2010, when he lost the Super Bowl, he has only had 3 playoff wins in those 15 years. He's had anything from great defenses to elite offenses with the triple Bs of Ben Roethlisberger, Le'Veon Bell, and Antonio Brown. Some of the best talent out there. And he has even made it work in the regular season from time to time. Of course, he's famous for never having a losing season. However, since 2017, he's only had 1 season with more than 10 wins. And in today's NFL, a 10-win season is just a wild card, probably disappointment of his season. It's not that great anymore, especially with the extra game. And just thinking about the Steelers as a whole has kind of led me to make this kind of obvious connection between Mike Tomlin and Marvin Lewis, the former coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, who everybody made fun of. Everyone was like, oh, he's bad, at least the later half of his career. And he ended up getting fired. If you don't know about Marvin Lewis, he was the Bengals head coach for 16 years. And in those years, he never won a playoff game. So he did not have the high highs that Tomlin has had. But he consistently won 9 or 10 or 11 games for most of his time with the Bengals. Even though he put up regular season success, eventually he did get fired. And you notice he hasn't been rehired since then. No one was like, he's a brilliant head coach like Tomlin gets. This is because he's had slightly less success, and of course he didn't start his career off with the Super Bowl and glory of Tomlin. But the key thing that I wanted to focus on in this video was since 2017, this is really the last good season for the Steelers. It's hard to believe, but they haven't won a playoff game since then. They've only won the division once since then, and in that year, they got blown out by the Browns in the playoffs. So they really haven't had a good season in almost 10 years. The fact that Tomlin has kept his job without a good season in that long is kind of remarkable. And yes, I know they haven't really had a good quarterback for a lot of this. And for a few years, they had Big Ben. And since then, it's kind of been Rudolph and Pickett and just random guys, it seems like at this point, Duck Hodges. So yes, I know it's a little random. However, Tomlin has a lot of control over the personnel. I'm not going to give him completely off the hook for not finding a replacement to lead the offense to being at least acceptable. The defense, oftentimes, as long as TJ Watt is playing, has been very good. However, they're kind of TJ Watt dependent. Hard to not be with one of the best players in the NFL, but when he's out, their defense just collapses. Please consider liking the video and subscribing to my channel for more content, but back to the video. This is a like what have you done for me lately type league in the NFL. 8 years is a very, very long time. In that time, the Eagles have won 2 Super Bowls with 2 different head coaches and 2 different quarterbacks. We've seen the whole rise of the Kansas City dynasty that feels like it's been here forever. This is just an eternity in football timelines. And the fact that he hasn't gotten fired shows, one, how respected he is. And while yes, he is a good coach, but at some point, if you're not putting success on the field, you can't continue to be the coach and hope that something will change, because I can almost guarantee you the Steelers are not going to win a playoff game next year because they don't have a quarterback yet. their only real guy on the team is Mason Rudolph, and then a 6th-round pick that everyone's acting like is going to be great. Maybe they'll sign Aaron Rodgers, maybe they won't, but they didn't really do anything big on the quarterback market, and I would be absolutely shocked if they won playoff games in the upcoming year. So that leads you to think, what is the end goal here? What is the real outcome that the Steelers are getting? Do they want another 8 years of 8? Do they want another 8 years of 9-8, 8-1, 10-7? Maybe he falls apart and goes 8-9. Or do they make a change and hope to improve? And this is one thing that the Eagles, the team right across the state, do completely different than the Steelers. For the Eagles, they have much higher highs and much lower lows, because when their head coach starts falling apart and doesn't show playoff success, they get fired. Like, look at Doug Peterson. He got fired so fast after winning a Super Bowl. And that's because the team philosophy is, if you're not winning in the playoffs, then you're gone. And yes, this will lead to some years of disaster, but it also leads to success at the highest level. The Steelers have just lived in mediocrity forever. And it kind of seems like the only way out of it is to get rid of Tomlin, because Tomlin has proven that he can keep his team at a roughly 500 level, and that means you're not going to get a high draft pick. You're not going to pick up a top-ranked quarterback, because the Steelers also don't make big trades. So they're not going to trade up in the draft. Their only hope for a quarterback is free agency, or maybe someone drops to like the 19th pick and then they get lucky and that guy turns into a star. But that doesn't really ever happen that often. Most of the good quarterbacks in the NFL were top 10 picks, really top 5 picks. So it just seems kind of like the Steelers are they're swimming in a circle of mediocrity. And I don't think the complete answer is that Tomlin is just a bad head coach. I think it is a mixture of the cake that is the Steelers. All those ingredients have just merged together to an average team that can't get the failure that it needs. But something about how the Steelers are, it just needs to crumble so they can build a more solid foundation to build for the future. And how it is now, that's not happening. I could easily see Tomlin, whenever, if ever, he does leave the Steelers, he goes to another team, becomes a great head coach, kind of like Andy Reid, leaving the Eagles, going to the Chiefs, and working out for them. But if you notice, it also worked out for the Eagles because it was just not a good pairing at the time. So while yes, I guess if you're a Steelers fan, you don't really want to see him leave and be successful somewhere else, it also might be the only way for the Steelers to improve their own team in the long term, because it feels like there's almost no hope, unless maybe the only reason I could see the Steelers keeping him and it working out is if they kind of do go into this year with no quarterback. They already got a draft pick from Pickens, and they kind of unofficially, but they tanked the season. They try to be kind of bad this year so that they get a good draft pick next year, get a high draft pick, get a quarterback, and then actually build for the future going forward. And then you can keep Tomlin and maybe it will all work out. But what are your thoughts? Do you think Tomlin and his history as the Steelers is a little overrated because he's 8-11 overall in the playoffs, hasn't won a playoff game since 2017? Or do you think he's great? Do you think they should keep him? Do you think they should fire him? Whatever you want to let me know, leave it down in the comments section. Subscribe for more content, and I will see you later.